Good morning, students. From today onwards, we will start the nervous system. Actually, two things are left in your whole syllabus to be covered. One is the nervous system, another is the spatial sense. The rest of the chapters, the rest of the systems have already been covered. Now, so far as the nervous system is concerned, I will take a part of the nervous system, and today we shall talk about a very important aspect of the nervous system, that is the reflex. Reflex. As you know quite well, this particular aspect of our nervous system, reflex, is very important in our day-to-day life, and majority of the reflexes are protective in nature. That is, it protects the subject from potential injuries or performs a number of physiological actions within the system so that the optimum physiological activity is maintained. Now, so far as the definition of reflex is concerned, it is very difficult to define, no doubt about it. Still, there is an internationally accepted definition is there, where it says that a reflex is an involuntary motor response to a sensory stimulus through the involvement of the central nervous system. Once again I am telling, what is a reflex? A reflex is an involuntary motor response, involuntary motor response to a sensory stimulus through the involvement of the central nervous system. So, if this be the definition, then if we dissect the definition, analyze the definition, we get some important facts. What are those facts? Number one, there must be a sensory stimulus. There must be a sensory stimulus of adequate strength. Sensory stimulus must be there. Number two, there must be a motor response. Which may be of different types. I am going to the motor response. So, there must be a motor response according to the definition. Number three, there will be involvement of central nervous system. There will be involvement of central nervous system. And number four, the motor response must be involuntary. There is no role of the will or the volition of the subject in the whole process. It is involuntary. Say for example, there is a mosquito bite over here on my right hand. So, I will try to slap it immediately with my left hand. Mosquito bite is there, I will try to slap it with my left hand immediately. This is involuntary. The sensory stimulus is the bite of the mosquito and the pain arising out of that. It is going to the central nervous system, that is spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the motor neurons are coming out to the muscles of my left hand, so that the left hand automatically tries to slap the mosquito who is responsible for the bite. The whole process is involuntary in nature. Automatic, involuntary. My will does not play any role over there. So these points should be kept in mind. So reflex sensory stimulus of adequate strength, that is very, very important. Otherwise there will be no elicitation of the reflex. Motor response, I am going into details of the motor response. Involvement of the central nervous system, that is the center lies in the central nervous system. That is the center which integrates the sensory stimulus and the motor response lies in the central nervous system. That is, this combination takes place in the central nervous system. That is the sensory stimulus and the motor response out of that sensory stimulus. The integration takes place in the central nervous system. This is clear. Now the motor response varies. Motor response varies. In case of skeletal muscle, there will be contraction of the muscle. In case of smooth muscle, there will be contraction of the muscle too. In case of cardiac muscle, there will be contraction of the muscle too. In case of gland, exocrine gland, there will be secretion from the gland. So the motor response depends upon on which organ the reflex is taking place. If it is muscle, there will be contraction, be it skeletal, smooth or cardiac. If it is exocrine gland, there will be secretion from the gland. So that is about the definition of reflex and its different analytical aspects. Now we will go to the reflex arc. Perhaps you know that all reflexes occur through a reflex arc which is having 5 components. Any reflex arc whatsoever happening in our system must have 5 components. And what are those components? Number 1, so it has 5 components. Number 1, where from the reflex is initiated is the receptor or sense organ. Receptor or sense organ. That is the initial part from where the initiation of the reflex will be. Second one is the afferent or sensory neuron. Afferent or sensory neuron, which is transmitting the impulse from the sense organ or receptor towards the central nervous system. The third one, there will be an integrating station. Integrating station which usually located in the CNS. As per definition, I told that the involuntary motor response to a sensory stimulus through the involvement of the central nervous system. So the integrating station lies in the CNS, maybe in the spinal cord, maybe in the brainstem, maybe in the cerebral cortex, whatever it may be, it is in the CNS, central nervous system. So number 3 is the integrating station. 4th is the efferent or motor neuron. This is the neuron which comes out from the central nervous system after getting integrated over there in response to the sensory stimulus and is conveying the impulse to the penultimate organ or the organ of execution. So, efferent or motor neuron. And number 5 is the effector organ. Effector organs, that means the organ in which the ultimate result is observed. Say for example, a very important reflex, I will continue in my next class, is the stretch reflex of the skeletal muscle. What is that? The stretch reflex, whenever if you stretch a muscle, so there will be some receptors which are located within the muscle belly, they will be stimulated. They are sensory receptors or stretch receptors. Sensory receptors or stretch receptors. So whenever the muscle is stretched, the sensory receptor senses that stretching, through the afferent neuron sends the impulse to the spinal cord. Spinal cord integrates that response, sends the efferent impulse through the motor neuron to the skeletal muscle, and the skeletal muscle contracts. This is known as stretch reflex. So what is what? The receptor is the sense organ located within the muscle. I will discuss in my next classes in details. Second one is the afferent neuron, which is coming out from the sense organ within the muscle, enters the spinal cord, gets integrated over there, makes a synaptic connection with the motor neuron. There may be a single synapse within the central nervous system or multiple synapses. But so far as the stretch reflex is concerned, only a single synapse is involved. Then the motor neuron sends the impulse to the muscle concerned. Say for example, it is being elicited in the elbow joint. So if the biceps brachii is stimulated, there will be contraction of the biceps brachii leading to flexion of the elbow joint. So ultimate effector organ is the biceps muscle, which will contract, and the result will be flexion of the elbow joint. So it satisfies all the criteria of a classical reflex arc: receptor, afferent neuron, center, efferent neuron, and the effector. Is this clear? This is the classical reflex arc. Say for example, this is a spinal segment. So here is a muscle. Muscle consists of so many fibers, and within the muscle there lies the receptor. If the muscle is stretched, the afferent impulse will go from the muscle, relay in the ganglia, and will enter the spinal cord, make a synaptic connection with the motor neuron, and the motor neuron comes to contract the muscle. So this ganglion is known as the dorsal root ganglion, or DRG. Dorsal root ganglion. DRG is equal to dorsal root ganglion. I will talk in details regarding the dorsal root ganglion, and whatsoever may be the impulse, sensory impulse trying to enter the central nervous system, it will have to relay in the dorsal root ganglion. So afferent neuron, receptor, afferent neuron, so this is the receptor R, this is the afferent neuron, this is the center, this is the efferent neuron, and this is the effector 2, muscle fibers. effector. So it satisfies all the 5 criteria of a classical reflex arc. Is this clear to you? Now we shall go to the classification of reflex. Classification of reflex. There are many classifications, but the standard classification which we follow in our clinical life or in our professional life are very, very important. So it is divided into 4 parts. Number 1 is clinical. Number 2 is anatomical. Number 3 is physiological. And number 4 is acquired / inborn. Acquired / inborn, or maybe acquired, maybe inborn reflexes. So this classification is normally or usually internationally accepted classification of reflexes. Now the most important thing which we will discuss is the clinical. Among the clinical, there are superficial reflex, there are deep reflex, there are visceral reflex, there are pathological reflex. We will concentrate on these from my next class onwards. That is the clinical reflexes, which are very, very important in our subject as well as in medicine. Now let us see what are the anatomical division. Just you know the anatomical division. These things we will discuss from my next class onwards. This part, that is the clinical portion of the reflexes, clinical classification. Anatomical is divided into segmental, intersegmental, and suprasegmental. Physiological is divided into flexor, extensor. Flexor, extensor. And the acquired or inborn, you know quite well from your previous knowledge, are divided into 2: conditioned and unconditioned. So far as this part is concerned, I will start talking from my next class. So far as this anatomical classification is concerned, segmental means the entry of afferent neuron and sensory neuron, and the efferent neuron is from the same segment of the spinal cord. This is a single segment of the spinal cord. So if the afferent neuron and the efferent neuron are from the same segment of the spinal cord, say for example this is for example T3, third thoracic. So here the afferent enters in the T3, efferent comes out from the T3, same T3. So this reflex is known as the segmental reflex. Then what is intersegmental? Intersegmental means the afferent neuron enters in the segment, but the efferent neuron comes out from another segment of the spinal cord. Say for example, it is from the T4. Efferent comes out from the T4, whereas afferent enters through the T3. this reflex is known as intersegmental reflex. The nomenclature is quite rational. Intersegmental. In between the two segments it is occurring. One is giving entry to the sensory neuron, another is giving exit to the motor neuron. So this is intersegmental. Suprasegmental means the center does not lie in the spinal cord. It lies above the spinal cord, either in the brainstem or in the cerebral cortex. If it lies in the brainstem, it is known as the brainstem reflex, because the integrating station lies over there, and if it lies in the cerebral cortex, it is known as the cortical reflex. So suprasegmental means the integrating center is above the spinal cord, spinal level, that is either in the brainstem or in the cerebral cortex. Regarding the physiological, there are two, one is the flexor, another is the extensor. That we will also discuss whenever we talk about the clinical, because the flexor responses are the protective responses and the extensor responses are usually found in different types of deep reflexes. I will discuss later on whenever I will talk about the clinical portion. And the flexor responses are usually protective in nature. Say for example, there is a thorn prick. If you walk barefooted on the ground or in a field, so after the thorn prick, you will immediately withdraw your leg. One leg is withdrawn and the another leg is extended to support the body balance. This is known as the flexor type of response, which is protective in nature, because the painful stimulus from the thorn prick goes to the central nervous system and there is contraction of the flexor group of muscles. So there is withdrawal of the leg concerned, and as a result of this withdrawal there may be disbalance of the subject. To counterbalance that disbalance, there will be increased muscle tone to the opposite leg that will undergo extension to support the body, to maintain the body balance. So there will be flexor and the extensor which are occurring simultaneously. That belongs to the physiological. Acquired and inborn, you know quite well. Inborn means that is present since birth. All the reflexes which are present since birth. For example, the suckling reflex, which is very, very important, the reflex by which the baby sucks the mother's nipple, is an inborn reflex, classical example. And another is the conditioned reflex, where the person must have some experience regarding the act. That is, if you smell a particular delicious food, or if you see a particular delicious food with which you were exposed previously, you know the smell of that particular food, that is biryani and all these things which you prefer. If you see it, even if you smell it, then there will be reflex salivation. There will be reflex salivation. This is known as conditioned reflex. Because, why conditioned? Because you are conditioned to that particular stimulus previously and your system is well aware, your nervous system is well aware, your cerebral neurons in the brain can recognize the smell or the sight of that particular delicious food, and as a result of which there is salivation, reflex salivation. This is our very common experience. So that is the conditioned reflex, and unconditioned means it is present since but there is no necessity of previous experience. And that's all for today.